Hi there, today I will be showing you everything you need to know about strings in Python. And so first I'll start by creating strings with you, just show you which syntax you need to create strings in Python. I'll show you how to join those, which is called concatenation, how to slice them. For instance, you have a path that has your files at the end and you want to extract the name of your files only and leave alone the directory. For instance, this could be very handy. Okay, but also how to accept a user input, which is typically strings, and also formatting and printing with F strings. This allow you to combine, for example, values which are be arrays or other types of data with strings. I'll be showing how to write conditional logics with strings, and at the end of the day we'll have so many projects that will allow you to practice these skills. With that said, let's get into it. And so the first one is string generation. So to create string, what you have to do is you need this apostrophe, this quotation marks. You could use it the double or the single, it doesn't matter. In this case, the first one I use single and the second one I use double. And so if we run this here, I'll just select and click here and it runs. So it's in the memory now, so you could find it here and it's stored here. Okay, and now that we have those two, if we could choose to combine those two by just doing something like string one, because we've passed this into this variable, plus this is just another way of doing space, plus is a way of concatenating or adding stuff together in a string, and this will basically combine a string. So if I run this line and check what is this guy, so let's just check what is that guy by running that line. It tells us to combine his hello word, so it's just added the first and the second. It doesn't matter if we change this to second to two quotation marks and just do the sentence. But usually you can also repeat something by just using multiplication, just like say it 2 times, say it 3 times. So it's just a way of like applying the basic English that we use in programming basically. And so if I say string 2 times, it means it's going to say hello. Okay, so if I run this line of code now and check what is that, it should tell me hello. Notice that there's no space, and this is because I'm just multiplying the strings by itself 2 times. Okay, so that's how to create. The first is just to create string. To create string, just know that you have to pass in this quotation marks. So for example, if I want to say assign another one to say var is equal to, I could give it something, maybe good. So the value is good. Now I have created this value. If I check it will be a string, and the string is this good. So anytime you see something in Python with this quotation by the side, just know that that's a string. Okay, and again by the side here you see that it will be str, so it's abbreviated as str, so that's string. So next one, let's look at getting length from string. So for example, in this case I create the first one called Python, a string, and I pass it into this variable called sample. So now I have run it, it has stored into sample. Okay, what if we want to change, what would it do if we want to check the length of, or how many alphabets are in this word Python? All you have to do is just use the len, which is the length of this particular variable, or whatever information is stored in that variable. And so if I run this, it will tell me that the length of Python is 6. So basically we count this alphabet as 6. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So that's 6. That's why it's like that. So basically what you have to do is just use the len. So if I just run only that, it will tell me that that is 6. So that's how to get the length of your strings. Next we'll look at indexing in Python, indexing strings in Python. So suppose you have still the sample. Remember the sample is Python, which we created earlier. So that's the string, and we want to select just the first alphabet of it. We just have to use this square bracket and passing 0. Remember Python comes from 0, so this is just saying that select just the first alphabet in the words that is stored in sample, which is Python. So it will just be a capital P, and here I add just a brief description or explanation of what we're doing. As the first character is, as if I run this, then it should tell me that the first character is P, which is true. What if I want to select the last? If I want to select the last, you just do -1 in your square bracket, and so if I run this line, it will tell me that the last in Python is N, which is correct. What if I want to select the second? you get this right. So it just have to be 1. Since 0 is the first, the second will be 1. And if we run this line, that will tell us that the second in Python is y, so py. So that's the second. How about slicing? Slicing, when the first indexing is just selecting a seed out of a letter or group of data or your list. Slicing is selecting a collection of those letters, for example. So it's not just picking one, but maybe a range within that particular letter or a collection of those alphabet. In this case, in Python, we could select from the second alphabet all the way to the 5th alphabet. So that will call out those as substring. So we're extracting that from the string Python. And if we run this line, we have the information, we collected the information, and we stored it in this particular variable. And so if we check that out here, we could see that it's selected from the second P, Y, H. So that's the range that was selected by doing that. What if you want to reverse your letters or your string, basically? Since we have Python, we could decide to type Python backward. To do that, we just have to do colon dash -1. So that is -1, and this kind of like flips it. So it's more like reverse. If I run that and print what is the reverse, then we could see that it types Python back. So it's by that, but it's typed backward now. Okay. So just know these simple syntaxes. This might be important at some point. How about to manipulate your strings? So suppose you have a word called cat, and if we add this word called cat, and we want to add a p to the beginning and drop the first one, this should become a bath. So if I print this should print bath. So basically, we manipulate your strings. So suppose you have your name, you could decide to drop the first letter and bring in the second letter to be something different just by playing with them using the add or whatever you want to do. You want to use duplicate of whatever you have, say cat, whatever. You just have to play with the symbols, either plus, minus, or plus or times for multiplication, or saying it several times. Okay. Next, let's concatenate strings. So for example, I have first one, x is 5. Remember, 5 is a number, so it is an integer. Y, this is a string. So y is a string, and if I run that, if I say print, I see string x. So x is 5, remember? So I see 5y. So if I run this line, what will happen? It says I see 5 stars. Y stars, and this is 5. So it says I see 5 stars, basically. What if I print this one? It tells us I see 5 stars. So why here I stress myself to add all these spaces in between and add another space in between? You will just use the F string and just catch it that way, so you don't have to do all this manual stuff. So this is a neater way of programming. I'll explain how this works just in a bit. Another useful part of strings is it's by default what you get from input that users provide to your program. And so for example, if you want to receive an input from the program, you want it to be a little more interactive, such that for example, you write a code and need some input, and the input could be a number, which should be an integer or a float. But anytime those inputs are provided, they are stored as string. So it's also handy for you to know how to be able to work with these strings. For example, if you want to convert these strings back to numbers, then you have to at least have some idea of string, which is why we're studying this in the first place. Okay, so for example, this one acts like the name, so it's actually user to put their name. So if I run this, for example, and look in the terminal, here it asks for your name. So if I run that and I come here, it's running and it's asking me for my name. If I type my name here to be Bernard and I hit enter, and if I print this next one now, it should be able to greet me with my name. It says hello Bernard. So basically I catch the name, which is a string, and basically I supply that back into the string statement and added a hello before, and it greeted me hello Bernard. So that's how to do all those greetings people do in emails. That's basically the code. That's going to be very short. How about I receive a number instead? So if I receive a number, remember this will be a string, same as what we did here before. and we'll have to convert that to integer if we really want to use it to be as a number. Okay, and so if I run this line of code, it's asking for a number, and I'm going to type 7, which is my favorite number, and now it has a number. If I run the second line of code, then it tells me that your number multiplied by 3 is 21. So basically just times our number, which is 7, by 3, and tells us that anything we give it, it times it by 3 and tells us that that's the answer of whatever we multiply. Okay, just a short exercise. In this exercise, just try to replace the verb with whatever you want. So you know what a verb is? An action word. So for example, if I run this line, it asks me for type a verb, and if I type my verb to be eat, and I hit enter, and if I run this other 2 line of code that print stuff, it will print that I can eat better than you. So I just received that input as the verb, and I added it back into the print statement, so that anything we put here changes here, and at the end of the day I multiplied it by 5 times, so at the end of the day it says eat, like this one. Okay, but also you could use it as conditionals. And so for example, you could use it to create games, guessing games. So here I have a secret number, which is by default 10. Okay, and if I run that, it does that. Let me just run the entire game and then I'll explain. So in this game, you have this number that is saved, and you are asked to guess as a user. And so whatever you type in get converted back into an integer, and it's compared to this default value. So if the guess is equals, so it checks if they are the same, equality. If it's the same, then that's correct, because that's what you wanted to guess. But if it's less than what the secret number is, then you tell them that it's too low. What if it's greater than? You just tell them it's high, but you don't have to do guess greater than that. That's very inefficient. You just say else, so that anything else you do, it means it's too high. So you can also use strings for operating with such. So here I'll come here and I'll type in 6, for example. It tells me that that's too low because the default is 10. And if I type in a 9, it will tell me. Okay, so that changed. So the program crashed somehow, which is weird. My secret number is 10. And if I type in a 0, it will tell me it's too low. Okay. If I type in a 3, it will tell me it's too low. If I type in 7, it will tell me it's too. Okay, so it crashes after the first time, so it only runs after the first time, so it's good to know how to do it so that it runs more than that. It's supposed to like use a while loop, so why it doesn't work, it should always take you back to the input so that you type in. So what I was doing, I was just typing the number and just bringing it back on the terminal. So that's why it's like that. So that's an incomplete game, but what I wanted to show you is that you could receive this input as strings and convert them to integers. So these are vital stuff that you should know. Here's another game. This one is about nesting, or rather, yeah, think of it as a game. It's an example of nested conditions. So you have A asks you to enter a number, and B asks you to enter another number. And so first you compare if A and B are the same, which means they're equal. So their ratio will be what? I know you know the answer. What if they're less? So these are all examples of good conditionals. So if I do that, the first I'm going to give it A to be 3. The second, if I give it to be 4, then it tells me that the first number is smaller. So it compares basically those numbers and gives you information about them. But you could make this to be more fun by using a while loop, so it doesn't break out of the loop. It stays there until something, a certain condition is met, which is the correct stuff is met. And so here are some of the practice exercises. Please go through this and put the correct answer in the comment section. I'll review and let you know if you got it right or wrong. So the first one is just, it gives you a part, which is learning. So again, we're creating a variable that's a string, and the second one was creating a variable that's string, and then we do this and this, add them together with a Python. What would the message say? Type it in the comment section below. Try the second one too. If you don't understand this, let me know, and I will happy to explain or provide more example. So that was short, but these are the basic operation that you need to know for you to excel in terms of using strings in Python. Please subscribe, and I will see you in the next video.